Oh, was it live? Before I say something wild.
Well, don't say anything wild,
I got
because
wild things
we
to
are
say, man.
live, my friends. Welcome to Cameos. We're back at it. It's not a Monday. We did our best, but it's Tuesday. That's close enough. It's in the first half of the week. I am Oseanacy with my friend, partner, Samsahn. We are Cameos. We're going to talk about everything comic book related, anime related, movie related, and everything else. So thank you here for joining us today. We just had a trip to the movies where we saw everything everywhere all at once, and it was fantastic. Spoiler alert, broad. We are going to be doing a deep dive onto the movie. So if you have not seen the movie yet, you should definitely get on that. I'm just going to say it right at the top of the podcast. I think this is going to win movie of the year. I think this is going to be really hard to top. This was one of the best things I've seen in a long time.
It's April, man.
I know. I'm saying it now.
Doctor Strange comes out next month.
All right, you're right. Marvel movie's never gonna win movie of the year. I'm talking like the Academy, which I know is like BS, but I don't know that it'll be my favorite movie of the year, but I think it'll be like nationally recognized as like the best movie of the year. We can get into it.
We'll see about that.
We'll get into it. Let's get into it. All right. So I'm going to do we're going to try like a quick synopsis here. We're going to see if we can fly through this. If Sam doesn't like it, we're never going to do it again. But I do want to catch everybody up. If you just saw the movie, or if you're like Jay and you just don't care and you're going to just listen to us talk about it, even though you have no idea what we're talking about. Here's a quick overview of what goes down in the movie. Evelyn Wang lives above a family-owned and operated laundromat with her daughter Joy, husband Waymond, and father Gong Gong. While undergoing an audit by the IRS, Waymond's body is taken over by a version of himself from another universe, and this Waymond, Alpha Waymond, tells Evelyn that she must get in tune with her alternate reality selves, a process known as verse jumping, in order to fight the evil Jobu Tupaki, who we learn later is actually her daughter Joy from another universe. Jobu Tupaki is a version of Joy who's able to access every version of herself at any time. This makes her incredibly powerful and able to alter reality as she sees fit. It's a bad thing. Initially, Evelyn can't quite verse jump in the way that she needs in order to take down Jobu Tupaki, and another version of her father, Gong Gong, tells Evelyn that she must kill her daughter in this universe to deny Jobu Tupaki another body to access. Evelyn refuses this request, and Gong Gong has a small army of verse-jumping individuals in the IRS building to try to take down Evelyn and kill Joy. Evelyn finally gets in tune with her alternate reality selves, doing wildly obscure reality-altering actions, and Jobu Tupaki is basically the same level as Jobu Tupaki, experiencing all of herselves all at once, just like Jobu Tupaki. We then learn that Jobu Tupaki, aka Joy, is sick of life and everything in it, and has created a black hole-like object represented as an everything bagel, which she plans to jump into, ending all of her lives simultaneously. She invites Evelyn to join her, and initially Evelyn seems like she might be going along with this, but comes to her senses. She beats Gong Gong's crew and tells Joy / Jobu Tupaki that she doesn't need to be evil anymore because they have each other, and that's enough. Jobu Tupaki is reluctant at first, claiming that she wants out and to end it all, but Evelyn pulls her daughter out of her multiversal depression and convinces her that family is what matters. They hug. All is good. Closing credits. So if that doesn't convince you to go see the movie right there.
You said Jobu Tupaki way too many times for me.
Well, listen, that was her name. I mean, I thought it was amazing that they threw that out like right at the beginning and you were like, what the hell? Turns out that it's Joy. I did say that a lot.
A lot.
Well, is anybody in the chat confused about who the villain is? I don't think so.
No, we clearly all know. Not.
It's Jobu Teriyaki. All right, so I mean, let's just go right off the top. Impressions. I've kind of already spoiled mine. What'd you think of the movie? Tell the fandom what you thought.
I loved it. It was hilarious. I didn't have like any gripes besides like one thing that we can talk about. Um, yeah, it's hilarious. It was well done, very well told. Uh, very good like fight choreography and action.
Yeah, that story like held up through the
Yes.
crazy plot, which I think was one of the biggest triumphs of the movie. Was like
Very hard to do.
that
Also,
could have fucked up so easily, but yeah.
yeah, and especially with all the outlandish things happening throughout the movie, you don't expect it to be like, nah, this is legitimately really really good.
It was a good story. There was a good story, and then you were saying the
Yeah,
action and
very good.
fight choreography was on point too.
Very good, spot on.
This
And
is a
just-
kung fu movie for those of you who might still be on the fence about seeing it. It is like
Yes.
Drunken Master inspired,
Mhm. But tastefully done,
tastefully done. Was Drunken
not
Master
corny
not
at all.
tastefully?
Oh no, not that Drunken Master's not tastefully done.
It's
But
Jackie Chan's finest
I don't
film.
know. Depending on how you feel about kung fu films,
I agree.
you know.
There was a little bit over the top. Like they definitely played into that. Like I think in the same way that the last kung fu movie I saw, Shang-Chi, like definitely played into that. Like they did some over the top kind of like stuff. One of my favorite things about kung fu movies is like the powder that you get from like the hits and the impacts. Like it really helps you feel them.
Yes,
They did all that. Yeah, speaking of the action and choreography, this movie has some heavy hitters that have been in other kung fu movies. Notoriously, Michelle Yeoh is right at the top of the list. She is Evelyn Wang, our main protagonist. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She was the aunt in Shang-Chi, if you saw that. She's done a ton of other stuff, but she's like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I think was her big breakout in the States. I didn't know she did all of her own stunts, like in her, not in Crouching Tiger, but like she was like Jackie Chan back in her making movies in Hong Kong days.
yeah.
Which is dope.
That's-
I thought
yeah.
that was cool. Also joining the cast, Joy Wang, played by Stephanie Sue. She's in Mrs. Maisel, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and I guess she was also in Shang-Chi, although I don't remember what.
Yeah, I don't remember her role.
She has
in
some, yeah, it says Sue, like Soo is her name in that, but clearly not a big role, and I've unfortunately never seen Miss Maisel. Yeah. The chat's calling out. Jamie Lee Curtis was next on my list. Oh my God, she was so great. I didn't catch this. Did you know her name is Deidre Bobidra? Is her name in the movie?
That was the name of the movie.
Deidre Bobidra.
The IRS agent.
The IRS agent, yeah, who they encounter at the very beginning of the movie, and she turns into like a wild fighting machine. Dude,
Like
I know
a
that wasn't
wrestler.
Jamie Lee Curtis doing any of that, but like that was so funny seeing
It was
her
hilarious.
do kung fu moves. Like I don't know if Jamie Lee Curtis has actually let herself go like that. I don't think so, but she had this big
No, she
gut.
hasn't.
She had a huge
And
gut.
and it immediately got sucked in
Yeah.
when she shifted. That was very hilarious to me.
Who else did we have? We had Kehu Kwan was Waymond, Alpha Waymond, and the rest of the Waymonds. Dude, I didn't know this. I didn't pick up on it until I did some homework. He was Short Round from Indiana Jones, and he was Data from the Goonies. Like he was the little Asian kid in those two
Oh.
movies, which makes sense because the voice was like. But yeah, that was Short Round from Indiana Jones. And then Jenny Slate was Big Nose. That's her like title in the movie is Big Nose. She doesn't actually have a real name, but
She walks in and Michelle's like, she has a big nose out the gate.
yeah, they just called her that throughout the whole movie. She is from for those of you who've seen Parks and Rec, she's the dentist's daughter. Money please.
And she literally didn't do anything but complain and
That
then
was it.
use her dog.
She
as
was
like
basically
a,
the same character from Parks and Rec, and then she used her dog as a
to fight. I don't know. It was like the.
It was like a
it
flail?
is a flail. Yeah. It was very hilarious.
Oh my
I haven't
God.
laughed out loud in a movie like that in a very long time.
Yeah, so like the one thing that all these cast members definitely bring is like they were all on point. They were all hilarious. The last one was the father Gong Gong was Mr. Ping, Poe's dad from Kung Fu Panda, and he's done like so much voice acting. But like very, very, very funny cast. And like they all played up the kung fu like comedy thing, like chef's kiss.
James
like,
Hong is his real name for those that are wondering.
Oh yeah, Gong Gong. Sorry, not Mr. Ping. That's not his real name. His real life identity is
James Hong.
It's not Kung Fu Panda's father. So like pulling it all together, I thought this was an incredible movie. This is a studio that doesn't usually do movies like this. Like A24 does that scary stuff, at least from what I know them from. The Vitch, Hereditary. What did they put out?
They do Euphoria, and I think it's something we.
That's the other one that you guys were talking about.
Looking at all this stuff,
yeah.
And there are a couple movies that they've actually done that I've seen, and I don't know why I forgot that fast. Hold on, give me a second. Now I feel bad.
I think we're making it big because we're getting Twitch bots in the chat. I think that means that we've made it to prime time. You guys do not go to my sturm.store. Just don't do it. Or if you do, let me know what it's like.
Oh yeah, we'll have to mod this. Oh yeah, so they've done a lot of shows that I've watched. That's what it's so like Random Back to Flyness, Euphoria, even though I don't like it that much. This Ali Wong thing that they're working on, actually. Oh no, they came out already. I did watch that. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
No, you're good. What I like about it is that they're branching out, I think, from what made them big. Like, at least for me, I think the first name that I saw them tied to was The Vitch, which came out in like 2016, 15. It was a long time ago. And they've done some scary movies since then. Most of them have been hits. But I know Euphoria is a big deal. I'm not caught up, but I know that that's a big deal, and I'm glad that that's catching on. And then this one too.
I think this will. Hopefully, I hope this really does well, because it's a great film.
Have you seen
the Euphoria money? Might add to what they can do.
The critical reception on this movie is like phenomenal right now. It's like upper 90s on Rotten Tomatoes from both critics and fans. So
that's really good.
If you don't trust us, trust the tomatoes.
I mean, what else can we say? I think the acting in the show or in the movie, the way they like, since they're jumping between universes and they have all these different types of personalities, I think they do that really well. And especially like we mostly see Stephanie and Michelle, the way they do it. We
mostly see those two. I mean, we get like we get the alpha version of Waymond and Gong Gong, but we don't really see we see one other version of Waymond where he's like successful because they didn't get together. So yeah, there is good. It was all really good, like character acting. Michelle Yeoh is like awesome. Like she was able to go through all of those things, but she was primarily playing herself. I feel like she didn't really have to do a big deal because it was kind of her in those bodies. You know what I mean? Like, and she was like connecting all the dots. So it was kind of the same performance from her throughout, but she was solid. She was really good.
In some of those cases, she was like splintered between.
Yeah, that's fair.
Whatever verse the main Michelle was in, and then like let's say her singer personality.
Yeah,
and she couldn't focus, so she would have to be splintered in between and acting.
And
like this,
see two versions of her up at the same time.
Yes, that was done really well to me. And then the hot dog version. She had to.
So let's talk about our favorite moments from the movie. Obviously, the hot dog was incredible.
Yeah. There's a universe where humans have evolved to have hot dogs for fingers. So their feet are really strong, and they do a lot of random
Curtis
sexual
playing
things.
The piano with her toes, and then it like zooms out, and she's just got like these like floppity hot dog fingers, and like mustard and ketchup would come out of them. Like it was so gross.
Yes.
Oh my god.
But very hilarious and nonsensical. What else?
God.
Rakakuni dimension,
I think, is definitely the highlight. Yeah.
Yes, that's a highlight. Oh, yes, the butt plug scene.
Yeah, somebody just called out. Patrick called out the butt plug scene. Yeah,
the fight scene amazing. Where. Oh well, first we should explain. So in the movie, to access your alternate reality selves, you had to do something ridiculous.
Verse jumping. Yeah.
Yes. So you do something ridiculous and it shoots you over into that universe where that ridiculous thing would have happened.
Right.
One
so
of
it's
those
like you
ridiculous
do
things,
something that you would never do in a million years. And
Right.
the logic in the movie is that somehow connects your brain to another version of your brain that did do that thing. So like
Right.
Wayman eats a piece of chapstick. He just like does it all the way out and then bites into it. And then he's another version of himself.
Right. He pulled gum off the bottom of a table
Yeah,
and then started
so
chewing
gross.
it.
That was so
And
gross.
use a new version.
Yeah.
But the butt plug scene to access their fighting ability. So there's a universe where they were like great fighters. To access it, they had to put a butt plug into their rectum.
But it wasn't a butt plug.
Shoot them.
It was a
no,
trophy.
one of them was a.
It was a trophy that, like, at the beginning of the movie, you see it, and everybody in the theater laughs because they're like, "Why is that trophy just a butt plug?" Like, it just it didn't look like a trophy at all. It was like it had a little plaque. It was on Jamie Lee Curtis's desk, and it was just shaped like a butt plug. And then, of course, like 45 minutes into the movie, it immediately pays off, and you just like see the guy fighting Michelle Yeoh, and he like looks over at it, and she looks at him. And then he starts to like quickly unzip his pants and she's like, no. And so there's a fight scene where she's like trying to keep the thing away from him so that he doesn't sit on it. Oh my God. That was hysterical.
Very hilarious.
And then another guy comes in and he shoves a trophy up his ass and they like fight her with the these things up their butts. Oh my God. It was so funny.
Hilarious.
Yeah. I don't think I've laughed that hard in a movie.
Was dying. That scene, and then the scene where all the Alpha Verse fighters are trying to verse jump.
Yeah, at the same time.
Like,
so like right after
random...
Gong is like, "Yo, you gotta kill your daughter, or we're gonna get you and her." And so like he's like, "Come on, guys! Like we gotta do this." And there's just a montage of everybody doing like
something outlandish.
What were some of the things?
Someone was humping a trash can. Someone was taking a dump in a potted plant. Someone else was like photocopying their ass. Those are like the three that I remember distinctly because they were very hilarious to me.
Yeah, but there's like 9 different things happening, and it's like in slow-mo, like a pan across the room. Like it's this beautiful, it would be like a beautiful cinematic shot if it weren't for like what was actually happening in the scene. Oh man. That was so funny.
Very hilarious. But I think to me that ties into something I actually didn't like about the movie, because they don't explain how like they get the devices that they use to verse jump. So they do the random thing and then they press a button on like an earpiece, and then that's how they traveled. But they don't explain how those devices got to the universe.
That's true. Yeah, they're communicating with another version. It's basically like a intercom or like a I don't know what the system you would call it. Like they have a little Bluetooth thing in their phone in their head, and then they're like phoning home to another universe, and they're like, okay, it looks like in this other universe they do this, so if you do that, then you can tap into them and you can have hot dog fingers or kung fu powers. But yeah, you're right. They never explained the technology of like the earpieces that actually they had to use to like lock in.
And that bothered me, because you shouldn't have this in this universe. It doesn't exist here. It exists in Alphaverse.
Yeah.
But I do understand how like Joy and I don't know why I forgot Michelle's character's name, but they were able to do it because they were pulling, like they had control over the universes, right? So they were jumping between their bodies and pulling their bodies into new places. They could do whatever they wanted.
Right.
But regular people didn't have that ability. So that was like my only gripe. Like I just wanted to know how'd you get this?
The only thing I can think to like explain it, and if the movie has a separate explanation, I'm not sure if they even care. But my thinking is maybe it's just, did they all have the same exact earpieces, or were they just earpieces? Because like maybe
it's like the same exact earpiece.
They were the same exact, because like maybe
from what I remember,
if they're not, or if it just was a coincidence that they were all the same earpiece, like maybe the act of doing that bizarre, insane thing starts to warp reality in and of itself, and then they like just press a button on it to
on a
like,
random
lock it in.
Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's
Because
that's
you
fine.
saw Joy / Jobu Tapaki like doing it without the earpiece. She was able to alter reality just by like her inherent power because she was connected to all of her universes at once. She didn't need a Bluetooth thing. I would be curious if they're all the same headpieces, because yeah, that would be a little bit of a hole. But I don't know that this movie cares about plot holes.
No, probably not. And like I said, it's light, but it just that's like the only thing that bothered me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie, you know, the story underneath was basically the whole movie was Evelyn Wang, this mother, trying to keep this laundromat under control. And basically the movie title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, is kind of like a double entendre, because her life prior to that, she was basically trying to keep everything, you know, under control all the time, everywhere, all at once. She was trying to be a million different things. She had to be a mom. She felt like her husband was basically like useless, beta, not helpful kind of person. Her dad didn't approve of her, so she was trying to be a really positive daughter. She had that whole stigma of being, you know, not loved by her dad. And then the laundromat is obviously pretty chaotic as well. That and all of these like little hobbies that they allude to her trying to get, like the whole reason she's being audited by the IRS is because she keeps buying things to support the business, but it's like they're really hobbies of hers, like a karaoke machine or some arts and crafts thing. So like I feel like that title of the movie really helps set up the story where Evelyn is trying to do all this stuff all at once, and I feel like they do resolve that cleverly through this whole multiversal thing. It was a really good plot device, and it could have gone horrible.
Every other version of herself is a master of one of the things that she had as a hobby. So she was like the least spectacular version of herself, which made her the most.
Yeah, that was another great moment of the movie.
The most important version.
She was like, "Why me?" And he was like, "I've never seen a more mediocre Evelyn through all of my I've seen countless realities." And it was like supposed to be this like serious moment, and then they just like cut it with that line where he's like, "I've never seen a more unremarkable Evelyn," and she's like, "What the fuck?" But it was true. It was true. She couldn't make up her mind. Yeah.
And I think that's also how they tie, like, you know, those other characters that she has to fight. She shows them the version of them that's there, a version of themselves that has like succeeded in a place where they fell short.
Yeah, that was a really nice way to tidy it all up. Was all the main like versions of herself that she interacted with had a happy ending. Even Hot Dog Lady ended up. Even Hot Dog Evelyn ended up with Hot Dog Deidre Bobidra. God, that was so great. And then Raccacoonie, we can't forget.
Raccacoonie was so hilarious, and you think it's a joke.
I think that was Pat's favorite scene of the movie for sure. Yeah, it was a play on Ratatouille, but instead of a rat, it was a raccoon that was like piloting this chef in the universe where Evelyn was a hibachi chef, and she like walks back and rips the hat off of his head, and you see the raccoon under there, and the raccoon's like, she's seen too much. He's like piloting the chef to like kill her. Oh my God. And then where like she gets on his shoulders at the end, and she's like, "We got to save your raccoon." Oh my God, dude. I'm tearing up thinking about it. It was so much fun. I gotta see it again.
I definitely got to see it again as well. Do we have like let's give a star system, a cameos,
right? Like cameos first. What? What,
out of 5.
I think out of 10. Out of 5 is
out
tough.
of 10.
Yeah, out of 10.
10's too much.
Well, 5, I feel like I would give it like a 4.5, but I don't know that that's fair. We can do that. We could do the stars. I'm giving it a 4.75 out of 5. There's, other than that little plot hole that you just pointed out, which I'm not even sure is a thing, I don't know any single thing that I would have changed about this movie to tell the story better. I guess they could have trimmed it down a tiny bit. I feel like it did, like the third act was a little long. I feel like they could have toned down, or maybe the second act where she's like tuning in with all of her selves. Yeah, maybe take a little bit off of one of those two. But I really liked all the buildup. Like, I thought the first part of the movie where we learn about the character and all that stuff was like perfectly done. I feel like I didn't get to know any one character too well or too little. So yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 4.75. Solid action, hilarious.
I think I'll go, given that thing that bothered me. I'll say like 4.8 for me. I didn't think anything was too long. Like I like movies, right?
Yeah.
So length doesn't matter to me,
I like
as long as
too,
it
but
makes.
I really had to pee at the very end of that.
This is your fault.
Yeah, I did have 2 beers, so
it's your fault.
That's fair. That's accurate.
So for me, it had a good runtime for me. I was engaged all the way through. It was just that one thing kind of bothered me a little bit. So.
All right. Well, yeah. I think either way,
highly recommend.
Yeah, whether it be a 4.75 or a 5 out of 5, definitely go see it. That was hilarious. I stand by. I think this is going to be movie of the year. I think this is going to win some Oscars. Whether that means anything to you or not is irrelevant. I'm just saying, like, I think this is going to be recognized as being like hot damn. And if it doesn't, they're getting ripped. All right. So that brings us to the end of part 1. Our video's being a little funkalicious right now, so give me 1 second. The quality just dropped. I need a new computer. Fund your Cameos, hosts. Help me buy a new computer, guys. Just like and subscribe. Don't forget to donate. Cameos, hosts.
Cameos is branching off into a Cameo OnlyFans to fund this.
Cameos is brought to you by
OnlyFans.
All right.
Come see us reenact our favorite scenes from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
All right, let's pick back up on Moon Knight.
Yes, Moon Knight.
We're closing
episode 2.
We're closing in on episode 3 here, so we definitely got to talk about 2 before 3 comes out. So, for those of you who are just joining, this is Cameos. We are here talking about Moon Knight. I am Oseanacy with Samsahn, and we're gonna do a play-by-play on episode 2 of 6, titled "Summon the Suit," which is appropriate because that is pretty much what this whole episode is about. So we pick up right where we left off last time. Mark/Steven had just beat the crap out of the jackal, and then he like wakes up on the bed and like flings himself forward and then falls like flat on the floor. He goes in and talks to the security guard, and that's where we learn like, oh, so Mark/Steven was running away from something that nobody else can see. And that was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like that lends a little bit into Steven feeling like he's losing his mind, at least initially, right? Where in the next scene, we see him getting fired for said events. He was running around the museum. He destroyed the bathroom, allegedly, because nobody else could see the jackal in the security footage. He hands over his badge, and because at this point he's like, I need help. So they give him a little pamphlet, and they're like, yo, you're clearly at a loss here, so go talk to somebody. And he like goes along with it because like at this point he's like, I think this is all in my head. Like it's clear throughout all of this, everything to him kind of seems like it might be made up, which is fair. I think I would probably feel the same way.
I'll say the only thing that doesn't seem made up though is you definitely have another personality that has control at times.
Yes. Yeah, he did point that out when he was talking to the security guard. He was like, so we don't see this in the first episode, but Mark, Steven, Moon Knight beat up the jackal, and then they're walking out. And then they like look up at the camera, and the security guard's like, that's you. And then Steven's like, that's not me. So yeah, I think you're right. He definitely knows that there's somebody else walking around with his stuff. And by his stuff, I mean his body. So yeah, Steven then goes and debriefs with the living statue guy again, who pointed out last week is Crawley from the comics. He's like the informant to Jake, who is a third personality who we have not met. He then goes looking for the storage locker from the key that he found in the first episode. So he's got the little key in the cell phone that he called a person named Layla with. We find out who she is later on. He eventually finds this storage place. It's like a U store or whatever they're called, one of those places. And that's when he comes face to face with Mark again in a reflection where they have all their conversations. And he's like, what the hell, man? Like, what's going on? Mark tells him that he's the avatar of Khonshu. Steven's like, oh yeah, I've definitely lost my mind. Like, my split personality is telling me that he's the avatar of a moon god. And Steven's not buying it. So he's like, I'm never going to let you have control again. He grabs the bag of stuff from... Which
includes the beetle.
It does include the beetle, but it was like a bag of money and passport, gun, and... Steven's like, screw it. I'm going to go just turn myself into a loony bin. I'm going to drop this off at the cops and they're going to lock me up and fill me full of so many pills that you'll go away, is basically what he says. He gets more visions of Khonshu chasing him out of there, which, dude, Khonshu does not need to continue being scary. It's like, we get it. Like, he like chases him out of there. It's like, dude, relax. As Steven's running out of there with the bag, he like trips in the street. I definitely thought he was going to get hit by a car, but he didn't. He runs into Layla, which is the person he was trying to call from the first episode. Turns out, big twist, that's his wife. Bum, bum, bum. That's Mark's wife. And she doesn't believe this whole Steven bit. She's like, what is this, another persona of yours? And he's like trying to convince her that he's the real deal. He starts flirting with her, which is like, what the hell? I mean, a little weird, but I get it. I mean, dissociative identity disorder, like you're kind of two parts of the same whole. That's why they stopped calling it multiple personality disorder. It's because it's like different versions of you are all just different, like aspects of you split into different people. So it makes sense that like one version of him would be in love with her. And there is a comic book like tie into that where one of Mark's personalities actually has like a whole life with Mark's wife that Mark doesn't even know about, like a kid and all this shit. And they kept it separate. So they might be nodding to that. I don't think they're going to fully explore that storyline. That would be a lot to do in 6 episodes. But I think that is a little bit of a tie in there where he's flirting with her. She's like, why do you have this accent? Stop it. So then at that point, she confronts him and she's like, what is this in the bag? She finds the scarab. Says something to the effect of like, you don't remember our adventures, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, no, I don't. And then she takes the scarab right as these cops come. Put that in quotes because they're not cops. And they come in and basically take Steven out. Like they're going to arrest him for what he did in the bathroom of the museum, but we know that not to be the case. They actually turn out to be agents of Harrow. I shouldn't say agents. They're cult members. They're part of his cult for Amit, right? And Harrow shows up. He's like, hey, look, I know how tough it is. Like, I think Harrow at this point realizes that Steven is not in control of this whole thing. He's like, Mark is definitely a separate person. Who's the avatar? You're just some innocent bystander. So he like runs him through, and it seems like a cool cult at the beginning. But then like Harrow's like, okay, give me the beetle. And that's when shit gets real. He's like, hey, we're doing this for the right reasons. Like Khonshu punishes people after the fact. We do things before they even happen. And to that, Steven's like, what, are you guys killing kids? And they're like, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's basically Harrow's thing. He's like, hey, listen to me. Yeah. One other big bomb drop. It is what it is. It is what it is, man. One other big bomb drop is that Harrow was Khonshu's former avatar. and he's like basically able to like fire off what Khonshu was saying to Steven in the background. He's like, Khonshu's basically telling Steven the whole time, like, kill him, break his windpipe, don't listen to him. Like, he doesn't know anything about me. And Harrow's able to like regurgitate that. He's like, yeah, he's probably saying this. So we can believe him. I believe it. Needless to say, killing kids doesn't go over well with Steven. He refuses the order to hand over the scarab. Layla shows up for some reason. I guess she was trailing just to make sure that Steven/Mark was okay. She's like, yo, I got the beetle. Let's get out of here. Also not sure why she did that, but she helps Steven/Mark get out of there. She's like, summon the suit and get us out of here. Steven has no idea what that means. He's still not letting Mark take over. So they run up onto the second floor. Mr. Harrow summons another jackal, because I guess that's his like signature move. It's like summon a jackal. Like that's what he does. So he summons a jackal and it chases them off of the second floor as Steven is getting tackled off of the second floor roof, which again, Layla can't see the jackal, so he's just like fighting with himself to her, falls off the second floor roof, and she's like, summon the suit, and he's like, summon the suit, and he turns into Mr. Knight. So, Mr. Knight, not the full like cloak mummification garb, but like what Steven thinks as a suit. It's a full white suit, and he's got like a little hood that just looks like a sock pulled over his head. It's cool. It does look cool. I'm not doing it justice. But he is basically still the persona of Steven with some of the powers that like Moon Knight proper has. So he goes toe to toe with the jackal, but it's not enough. Gets his ass beat. He relents, lets Mark take over. He's like, yo, Moon Knight, come in and save my ass because this is not working. Moon Knight comes in, gets the jackal out of the middle of the street, runs off, does like a suplexes the jackal onto like this spire, and then basically tells Steven like, hey, this is the deal. We got to do what this god says, but this is it. This is the last mission. If we don't do it, he's going to make Layla be the avatar for some reason. I'm really curious to see why that would be. But yeah, there was some cool use of reflections here. Steven was talking, or I should say Mark was talking to Steven through the reflection, and Khonshu's basically like, yo, you dropped the scarab, Harrow got it, we got to go get it. And the episode leaves off with Mark overlooking Egypt scene, like backdrop from a hotel room. And that is where we leave off. So Oscar Isaac is yoked, first off. That was what I picked up from that. The MCU has a good habit of like,
they got good trainers.
Yeah, Chris Pratt. If they can make Chris Pratt like in shape, I think they can do it to anybody at this point.
Everyone's in shape, like dumb shape. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
what'd you think? Give me your thoughts.
So what? All right. One before I start talking, let me just say that I do like Moon Knight. All right, I love the show. It's things that bother me. One of those things is like Steven's stupidity. He's like really annoying. He's getting on my nerves at how stupid he is. And I understand, like, at some point,
his accent, they gave him like an Oliver Twist accent. It's not like a normal so British accent. He's like, hello, sir. Like, later skater. Like, that accent thing is,
it doesn't help at all. No. But he's like, I understand in the beginning, like you said, you know, he wakes up in his bed, right? Strapped to his bed, like nothing happened. So he's like, oh, I must have been dreaming again. Then he gets to the museum and then sees the damage. He's like, all right, so I wasn't dreaming. But then he sees a video, doesn't see the jackal. It's like, all right, well, I must be crazy. But then at some point, you have to realize this stuff is real. Like, pause and have a conversation with either Khonshu or Mark and figure out what's going on. But then Mark's impatience with Steven is annoying to me also because, and I understand all these things are plot devices, right? It helps drive the story.
Sure. They help move things along, especially when we're seeing everything from Steven's perspective. You're going to get a lot of annoying Steven.
It just bothers me that they can't just talk. You'd figure this out so much quicker. So that's like my main gripe with all of this.
Yeah, that is a little frustrating when like they write the story to make the main character an idiot. I mean, it's not this show is not the only one that does it. Like plenty of shows do. They tell the story through the protagonist being clueless, and they did. I mean, that's exactly what they did here to a T. Like, they have the added benefit of him actually having like a borderline dissociative identity personality disorder. So like it's easier to tell through that way. But yeah, I agree that the persona of Steven is definitely a little grating. Yeah, I don't hate it though, because it's just when he figures it out. Yeah, it's just in such stark contrast to me for when we do get to see Mark. I really like Mark's character, even though I agree that just like be more like talk more to the dude. Don't just be like, we're the avatar for a moon god. Can't you get that? It's like, no, man. Like I just 3 days ago, I was thinking that I was sleepwalking, and now you're telling me that like I serve some like, you know. And in this universe with the MCU, they go through a lot of stuff, but like being possessed by a god is not like one of the Avengers things. You know what I mean? Like this is traumatic stuff. So a little bit of sympathy for Mark would go a long way.
Mark just keeps saying it's not what you think. Then what is it? Say what it is. Yeah. This doesn't help. Yeah. It doesn't help him understand any further.
Are you talking about the mercenary part where Steven finds out that Mark was a mercenary while he's driving in the car with the cops?
Yeah, and then as like they're talking to Steven, Mark is like, it's not what you think. And he just doesn't say anything after that. It's like, say something else. Say exactly what happened.
That's a fair critique.
But I get it. Like, you got to do that to Steven needs that, like, what's the word? Motivation. He has to fight with Mark in some way to keep this moving forward, so that he doesn't just give the body over and then everything's solved.
Yeah, that would be a lot less interesting of a show. I do hope, with that said, like piggybacking off of what you said, I do hope that they spend more time with Mark moving forward. Like if all 6 episodes are Steven centric, that is going to take away from the show a little bit for me.
Well, I think next episode has to be Mark centric.
That's what I said about the second episode, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I was like, oh, we're gonna see all the stuff from Mark's perspective, and it was like,
we got a good mix though of Mark and Steven. Yeah. Now we'll probably get just Mark and then Steven and all these reflections like, hey, can I have my body back now?
It looked, yeah. So at the very end there, when he was in the hotel room, you see the reflection. So like one of them is on the floor just with like a bottle of Jack Daniels or some kind of booze in his hand. And that definitely doesn't seem like a Steven persona. And then you have a reflection of somebody looking like frightened, like what is going on? And I think that's definitely the Steven one still locked in there from where we last saw them in London.
Yeah, but that makes me wonder, how's Mark keeping him locked away at this point? Right. Because as soon as Mark falls asleep, Steven should come out. Or, you know, and vice versa. Yeah, so I wonder, how is that working now?
Somebody just called out that Mark did try to clarify with Steven about the mercenary ship, but Steven just calls him a liar outright. He basically has a little temper tantrum when he's in the car.
But I don't think he tries hard enough.
No,
and that's my thing. So
it's one of those things like in movies where it's like, well, wait, listen to me. And then it's you just let him walk away. Like I get it. Yeah. And then like while he's sitting there, like Mark is talking to him while Harrow is going on his spiel about how he was the former avatar for Khonshu. You see Mark sitting right there in the reflection. But I guess just to play devil's advocate, one thing that they did say there at the end, which kind of could help. I mean, I'm explaining on behalf of the show, but he does say, Mark says, like, most of the time it'll take all of your effort just to be a fly on the wall. Otherwise, you're just going to be a silent observer. So if we
that might explain why he can't have real conversations back and forth. He can't
sit there and like, it's like taking everything out of him to be like, don't involve her. Like, you're going to kill her if you involve her, talking about Layla or like, so I guess you could use that, it seems baked in enough, but,
no, that's a fair point. That's a good point.
Yeah. So we've talked about 2 personalities so far. There is, I think we mentioned this on the first one, in the comic book origin, there is a third personality, and it seemed obvious in our first episode that they were definitely alluding to 3 different versions of Oscar Isaac. So there would be Steven, Mark, and then this third guy we haven't seen, Jake, who is friends with the statue guy that we keep talking about.
Right.
Do we think Jake is going to be a thing, or do we think the third personality is Moon Knight? Because I keep going back and forth.
So yeah, because I think they, what Harold says, like, oh, it must be hard with having, you know, these voices. But he says, you know, Mark, Steven, Khonshu, right? But I'm thinking like, and the reason I'm thinking this, that there's another voice, is because it's that date that Steven was supposed to go on, episode 1, right? So now we know Mark is married. He was trying to get a divorce, but Mark has no reason to, you know, solicit dates from bad museum joints, right? There's no reason for him to do this.
So I was thinking about this, because that is a fair point. It does seem out of character for Mark to be trying to go set himself up on a date.
Right. However, Steven doesn't know, and then Khonshu doesn't care.
Think about this. So what if Mark says multiple times throughout the second episode, he's like, once we're done, you'll never hear from me again. Now, this is a stretch, but Mark might be planning on fulfilling his obligation to Khonshu, making sure that Layla's safe, because it seems like that's Mark's primary objective right now. He wants to divorce her to get out of all this bad stuff. He like fights with the most of his dialogue with Steven is like, don't involve Layla, keep her out of this, you don't know what you're doing. Maybe what he's trying to do is give over his body to Steven moving forward permanently, and he's just trying to set him up with a life. He's just like, I'll get you a date, I'll go away, you can be happy. I don't think we know enough about Mark to say definitively whether that's a thing or not. I do agree with you. I don't think it was a date for Mark, but I'm wondering if maybe Mark was trying to set up Steven.
Yeah, but I don't know
just to
that...
give him something after all this is said and done. Like, hey, I'm sorry, but here's some museum biddy. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, bye. But I don't think that, like, I think Mark has like a one-track mind, right? Like, he's focused. He's trying to fulfill his duty and be done. All right. Yeah. I don't know that any part of that duty involves anything dealing with Steven. So if it doesn't benefit him in finishing his deal with Khonshu, I don't see that.
That's true. He's probably got very little waking hours outside of like going to Belgium and stealing scarabs and stuff.
And that's why that leads me to believe like there's probably a third voice in there.
That's fair.
You know, actually like doing other stuff. And I don't know. I just don't think Mark would cheat on Layla. He's very clearly trying to protect her from Khonshu.
I don't think the date was for Mark.
There's something else going on.
So yeah, the third personality here, Jake, is basically like the underground informant dude. He's the one who has like his ear to the ground. The thing about his personality, at least in the comics, which they've already altered Steven's personality so much. So I think if we do get introduced to a third personality, we should expect nothing going in. Like in the comic books, Steven is he's basically Batman. He's Bruce Wayne. He's like a philanthropist billionaire, and he just takes all the powers of Khonshu and puts them into his moon gadgets. Jake is supposed to be some guy with his like ear close to the ground, street informant cop. And he's kind of a jackass from the comic book interpretation, but maybe, you know, if it all ties together, he is the one basically just like not really involved in either one of their lives predominantly and just kind of like going with the flow. And he's just like, oh yeah, I'll go get a date. Seems like fun. Not really tied to either one, but he's obviously got to be more charismatic. I do agree though. Mark is very mission driven. So
he's like really focused.
Yeah.
And so, especially on like Layla, his main focus is like Layla and keeping her safe, which is why he wants to do all this stuff for Khonshu.
Yep. But
then that goes into Khonshu's actual motives. Like, I don't think Khonshu is benevolent. Thank you. In any way, shape, or form. I think Khonshu's kind of like just wants an avatar for life, and he's effectively holding Layla hostage.
Yep.
And at this point, I think what you know how in the episode they say that Mark says, you know, the wall between us is something different now. There used to be like a wall between us. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's Khonshu doing that on purpose so that Mark can't fulfill like his actual duty, and he has to stay the avatar forever.
That's interesting.
It's like a mean genie. You know how you get your wish, but like it's a caveat.
A monkey's paw. It's a monkey's paw.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's a monkey's paw.
Go.
Yeah, you make a wish and you get it, but there's always some like twist on the wish. That's interesting because Khonshu definitely goes out of his way to be like, if you can't hold up your end of the deal, I'm gonna take her. Basically saying like, get your shit together. That would be interesting if he was playing them like that, like drawing Steven out and pushing Mark away and vice versa, just to get them to fight with each other, just so that Mark has trouble and needs to continue doing this. But like the flip side of that is the more Mark proves his worthiness, like his value to Khonshu, the more Khonshu's just going to be like, yeah, I'm not letting you go anywhere. Like you're a capable like avatar for me. Like this body, I'm the one that brought you back to life. Like, why am I going to let you go anywhere? Whether or not he's
but they keep referencing the deal that they have between each other. And so once he fulfills the deal, then, word is bond, you have to let me go. Unless you don't actually fulfill the deal. Like there's a little caveat in there. Well, actually, technically,
I see where you're going.
Steven intervened. Yeah. He did it. You didn't.
Okay.
That's what I've been thinking.
Yeah,
especially after this last
like,
episode.
Hey, I figured out some other way to. I don't need the scarab thing anymore. I just need this body longer. That would be a cool twist. I could see that. I'd fuck with that.
We know Moon Knight has to be in the, MCU in some way later. He can't fulfill his goal in the show and then lose his powers. Something has to like happen for him to.
They could also spin it with Oscar Isaac just being like them coming to some kind of understanding where Oscar Isaac, Stephen, Mark, whoever the hell ends up needing the body, the powers of that come with Khonshu. So it could go either way. I like your idea. Some Easter eggs that I caught. I don't know if you caught any, but the Mr. Knight, when he turned into Mr. Knight and Steven was like boxing, pretty sure that was a callback to like Mark Spector when he was growing up. He was a boxer. So I thought that was a cool little callback. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. In that same scene, you see the GRC logo on the side of the bus. For those of you who don't remember, GRC was the global what was it? What did it stand for? It was basically the commission that was responsible for like putting everybody together after the snap.
The Thanos snap.
The Thanos
for those that don't
snap.
remember the Thanos snap.
The blip.
Yes. And I did not notice that until you just pointed it out.
Yeah, that's on the side of the bus. So like we definitely know that this is well after the snap, and sometime the Global Repatriation Council is the
okay.
Yeah, and like we said, they're the ones that were responsible for like putting people back into place after they've been gone for 5 years. They were the ones that were racist against Falcon and Winter Soldier. Or was that a bank? I think that was a bank. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a bank.
They were doing a bad job with that one. Not helping out Falcon. And then finally, right after all that happened, all my Easter eggs were right in the same like 3 minutes. When Steven / Mr. Knight gives over power to Mark and he turns into Moon Knight proper. He has little crescent moons in his eyes, like very for like a split second. You can see like these 2 crescent moons in each of his irises. I thought that was a nice little touch. They're like there as quickly as they come, but I thought that was cool. Yeah. What else? Action. What do you think about this? Was basically the second half of this was one big fight scene.
I enjoyed it, but I think he couldn't fight in the main area because there were people there. So you got to see him be a hero. He chased the jackal away.
Steven was fighting him.
Steven should not have been fighting in that main open area.
Mr. Knight.
Yeah, Mr. Knight should not have been doing that. Yeah. But Mark knew better and led the jackal to an abandoned area to kill it. He did. No, that was Steven.
What do you
again? Steven just.
I believe it. What do you think of the special effects? I've heard some stuff online about people not digging the special effects, which I watched this episode twice. You watched it 3 times.
Yeah, I watched it 3 times. I didn't like that purple stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just looked weird. Like
where the
summoning the jackal.
That's jackal magic.
Yeah, like I don't like that. Huh. But everything else looked fine to me.
I thought the jackal looked all right. I thought the costumes looked good. One thing that I noticed was the cape was a little like it didn't seem like it was flowing like a real cape, but like that was me looking for stuff because I had read people online being like, special effects in the show are garbage. Imagine what they could do with a real budget. And I'm like, going back and like scrupulously looking at it, I'm like, maybe the cape could be better, but like,
yeah, it's not terrible.
Good. I think it's good. I think good special effects, and if they can do this with a budget for a TV show, if we get to see like a proper, whatever they're spending on Disney, whatever they're going to spend on Doctor Strange. I'm really curious about what the budget for that movie is. I think we got to look that up before our Doctor Strange cast. But yeah, with a proper budget, he's going to look, I think, in my opinion, probably the coolest looking superhero in the MCU right now. Yeah, I like Spider-Man's look a lot. But yeah,
I'm just waiting for Blade.
Yeah,
that's the one that's going to be the best looking to me.
Blade's going to be awesome. Yeah, so we're going to get to see a team up between them, right? Was I telling you about that? Blade,
yeah, they're part of the same.
And Moon Knight are all part of a squad. And basically, for those of you who don't care about comic spoilers, and this might not even happen, but Doctor Strange basically has some run-in with Mephisto, and he's got to put together a team of people that are like good at fighting paranormal stuff. Obviously, Moon Knight, my man's fought 2 jackals so far, killed 2 jackals. He's definitely going to fight. He's going to fight an army of jackals next episode. It's an army of jackals. So you got them, Blade, obviously the Daywalker, and then Black Knight, who we haven't met yet, but he fights paranormal stuff. I mean, you saw at the end of anybody that's seen Eternals, he's at the end of Eternals and he's like reaching to touch the family blade, and the blade's like all like shimmering and haunted and shit. So those 3 are supposed to get together, and I believe Ghost Rider is another one, which there is going to be a Ghost Rider movie. Yeah,
there is a Ghost Rider movie.
So I think all those guys are going to come together.
Chad, if you didn't know, there's a Ghost Rider movie.
There is a Ghost Rider movie coming, and Nicolas Cage is not.
Unfortunately,
although what an awesome cameo it would be if we see him in Doctor Strange as a callback. I want Tom Cruise as Iron Man. I want Nick Cage as Ghost Rider, and I want both Xaviers on screen at the same time. That's my
dream.
That's my dream. All right, but going way off topic here. Moon Knight, closing thoughts.
Wait, we didn't talk about Layla. Actually,
what about her?
You noticed she could fight, right?
Yeah. She could fight in the same way that like Evelyn could fight in The Mummy. You know what I mean? Like she was cool. She was fine.
It's not like she was scrappy. Like she was trained. Like she was doing Krav Maga or something. Like she could really fight. She was fighting like cult members, and we're comparing her to like what Steven was able to do. Like, yeah, but she could still throw hands.
She did. She kicked those dudes' asses. We don't have any. We haven't seen the cult members like. They look scary and stuff, and they can shoot guns.
They can't do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say she has to be able to do something, because when she finds the scarab, she tells Mark, we did this together. How dare you keep this from me? So she's very clearly been going on like excursions with him. And also, I thought it was interesting that she had so much in common with Steven. So I'm wondering if that's like a coincidence, or, how does that tie? Like what's actually going on there? It's like she's the best parts of the persona that Steven and Mark have. She like perfectly fits all of it. So I'm just curious.
That was like my Layla something thought. Interesting that I was thinking about that I forgot to write down. What do you think the chances are that this is actually Steven's body and Mark is the intruder? Because I think right now the way that the show is kind of setting it up is that is the case. But I'm 99.9% sure that we're going to find out that it's not Steven's body and that it's been Mark all along. But like, if you think about it, that's kind of got to be the case, because Mark has so much history of stuff. Like he's got a whole wife and a life, and like that would be really hard to pull off if Steven was the predominant body. But what if it's been What if Steven is right and that he is the predominant
like the
persona?
Show?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Though. I didn't even think about that.
For season 2.
Yeah.
What if Steven was the one all along? He'd die immediately. He'd get like asthma in 2nd grade and just die. And that would be the end of the episode. I don't know, just something I was curious about. The more I think about it, the less likely I think it is, just because of everything that I just said. Like, Mark has had this huge backstory. We're pretty
good with these theories right now.
They might, what if they like flip flop it? They're like, Mark was the real one. Oh no, wait, it was Steven. Or if they're like, what if they go back and forth, and then in the last episode we find out about this third personality that you and I know about, and they're like, it was actually his body, and both of you guys are fucking his shit up. He's just out here trying to date museum biddies, and you guys are over here being the worst. Oliver
getting
Twist
married,
getting married and being a mercenary. Like, leave me alone. I don't know. We'll see. That'll be interesting.
It'll make for a great show, regardless.
Yeah, for sure. We got 4 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
So, before we close out today, our new favorite segment, the debate cast, cameos, critic. What did we decide it was? Critical. Oh man, you had the acronym.
Thought you wrote it down.
Wait. Here we go.
Man.
The cameos debate cast. Ready? Conflicts, arguments, mullings, and elegant exchanges with Oseanacy and Samsahn. All right. So again, we are going through episode by episode in Moon Knight, talking about what we believe to be the most important episode in scene in each episode. Basic rules here. We're gonna put. You said you wanted a little bit more time. What do you think about like?
Give me a full minute.
You had a full minute.
No. It's a rebuttal.
On the rebuttal.
Yeah, give me a full minute on the rebuttal.
Okay, so we're gonna get a minute to state our case. Then the other one states their case, and then 1 minute rebuttals. I don't think I'm gonna need a minute, but.
Wow, what are you trying to say about my logic?
All right, so I think you went first last time.
Did I? I don't remember.
Do you want to ask Siri? Oh, you know what? I think I did, because this was my idea to begin with, and I was like, I'll start it off. So, do you want to kick it off, or do you want me to kick it off? I'll leave it up to you again.
I'll kick it off.
I'm locked and loaded. So let me know when you're ready. I will give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start spitting hot fire. Deep breath.
Okay. No. All right, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. So the most important scene to me is when Steven is in his apartment with Layla, and they're discussing things, and then he's talking to her in French, and she's talking back in French, and then they're looking at the hieroglyphics, and she can read all these things. Because I think in that moment, he really falls in love with this woman, and it's not just some random person that's here that knows your other life. And then it gives him the same level of like, oh, I need to protect her that, Mark has. So you see the cops come in, and then he's about to tell them about that the beetle and give her up, and then Mark is like, no, they'll kill her, and then he's hesitant. And I think that's like a show of like the fondness that he's developed for her. Even looking at the divorce papers, and he's like, I would never divorce you. Well, you don't know her besides this small encounter that you just had with her. So that is like the most important scene.
All right.
For this episode to me.
Okay, she's pulling at the love heartstrings. You think the love story is what's going to triumph all. All right, let me tell you why you're wrong. Let me tell you why I'm right, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, the most important scene, without a question of a doubt, is when Arthur Harrow tells Steven that he was the former avatar for Khonshu. And this is important for 2 reasons. 1, we learn that Arthur Harrow has dealings with the god, and that he knows some shit. And that is a big enough implication in of itself. And 2, it hints that there is a reason that Khonshu dropped Arthur Harrow. We know that Khonshu is not a benevolent god. We know that he's kind of messed up toying with this crazy DID afflicted person. Just as Arthur Harrow said, he's like, you think he took advantage of you because you're crazy? And it's like, yeah, that's probably exactly what happened. But he dropped Arthur Harrow. So there must be something so inappropriate and wrong with this guy that he was dropped by this god and decided to go to backup crocodile head god. I think that in and of itself is going to set up the next couple scenes or the next couple episodes and what we see in Arthur Harrow being like the big bad and why he's so evil. That's a time.
Cool. You love Arthur Harrow.
I love to talk about Arthur. Ethan, I think I love Ethan Hawke. I think is what I'm discovering through this.
As soon as Ethan Hawke pops on the screen, this is the most important right here.
I came excited for Oscar Isaac, but it's been all about Ethan Hawke. I'm not gonna lie. All right,
so now I got to rebuttal you.
Yeah. Now you tell me why my scene was not the most important.
Okay.
All right.
Ready?
1, 2, 3, go.
All right. So your scene wasn't the most important because as soon as Arthur is done telling him all that stuff, he goes into killing babies. So Steven is immediately like, you're crazy. I don't want to hear anything from you. This doesn't make any sense. But to get back to him and Layla and all these interactions, this clearly evolves into something more. Plus later, when they're in that warehouse, Layla is the one that is able to calm him down and help him access the suit. You can do this, Steven. She calls him Steven for the first time. Mm-hmm. Like that all stems from this one apartment complex interaction. And like Arthur is clearly crazy. Whatever he did with Khonshu doesn't matter because he's crazy at the end of the day. Like, we get him out of here. Just get him out of here. He's crazy.
All right, that was about 50 seconds.
That's all I needed. I just needed more than 30.
I think you stated your case well. Yeah, maybe we'll cut it back to 45. All right, I really got to pee, so we're gonna make this. I'm gonna fire this off. All right, ready?
All right. Yeah,
3,
ready.
2, 1, go. Layla and Steven being like inextricably tied to each other it's a big deal, but it's not the most important thing. And I don't think it's that surprising of a thing. I mean, we know that these two personas of Steven and Mark are just two halves of a whole. So yeah, it makes sense that Steven would be able to connect with Layla. Like, who would have seen that coming? Like, this guy that married her and he has like this alternate persona who's kind of a little bitch, but yeah, they still have a lot in common. So like, clearly they're going to click, they're going to connect. And like, she's still looking at what she thinks as Mark at the end of the day. Like, she calls him Steven, sure, but that's because she's trying to stop him from having like a panic attack breakdown. And she's trying to save her ass. At that moment, it's not about connecting with Steven or Mark or whoever and like this big loves thing. It's just about like, hey, we're about to get killed by some purple jackal thing, and you need to get your shit together, Steven.
I like the emphasis you put on Steven.
She said it in a very like endearing way, but like in my mind, she was like, she's like in the back of her head, she's like, you fucking piece of shit. Like, I don't know who you are right now, but like, you need to get your shit together. All right, dope. So that was fun. Let us know what you think. It's a jackal. Jay is clearly just coming back in to read the chat now. Thanks, guys, for coming in to watch us tonight. If you weren't able to catch us live, we're going to put all this up on the podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, that should be there. Also, when we get some things cleaned up, these are all going to go onto YouTube in a nice cleaned up format. And they are all on Twitch for replays. So we are going to try to be back here Mondays. We're going to shoot for Mondays. But y'all keep hip in the Discord. We'll post some things if schedules change and try to put something in for those of you who like to tune in and watch. But thank you very much for stopping by. It's been real. It's been a pleasure. Catch you on the next one.
Bing bong.
Bing bong. I was waiting for it.
I'm gonna say something else at some point.
Yeah, you got to give the outro. I feel like I give the intro and the outro. All right. Peace, guys. Thanks for stopping through.